All right. Hope you guys see the screen really sure. Probably like next to it. All right, but today we're gonna kind of go over a little bit of liquidity, market structure part two-ish, and then more honestly of like liquidity pools and which ones really matter more than others and like different ones, right? So let's make this little text box here. So different liquidity pools. Okay. I'm not gonna put these in any order. I'm just gonna put some, as they come out. So we have equal highs, and lows in the market, right? Very strong draws in liquidity. Okay. We have beta highs and lows, and we have this lows. And then more recently, okay, we have Trump tweets highs and right. And some examples of data highs and lows would be like FOMC, rates, unemployment claims, numbers, CPI, anything like that. And then news is just like anything like, comes up, like news, whatever, right? So I'm going to show you guys different types, right? So this at 8:40, okay? This high right here, this is a Trump tweet, okay? And a lot of people on this day were very, very bearish. But problem is, I have this high up here, okay? And so let's kind of go back and if I can find this shit again. Okay, there it is. But okay, so market opens, right? 9:30, we immediately pump higher, right? We pump, but we hold this 15-minute gap, okay? And out of that 15-minute gap, there's this fucking line here, okay? We get these fucking massive candles down, right? So boom, we immediately pump up, hold the 15-minute gap. Most people see this 1-minute gap go, okay? This last 1 minute, boom. Like, all right, we're shorting this shit. This is, Judas swing, right? Go for a little one-to-one, okay? Or just say, there's probably a higher time frame, if I remember correctly. Uh, yeah, okay. It's 3 minutes. There may have been a 5 minute though. I can't really remember. I'm not gonna lie. Yes. Okay. So let's say that you enter off of this 5 minute. Okay. You're already bearish for the day. You're like, all right, bet, cool. Enter off this 5 minute, you get fucking smoked. Right? Target here. Maybe you go for a one-to-one because you know put your shit at the death candle. But most people are gonna put their soft stop a little above that gap. Go for a little one-to-one, one-to-two, whatever. Right? One-to-one. Okay. The issue, right, is most people are just not even going to go break even. They're just going to try and go for this 1-1 and get smoked, right? And especially if you waited for that last one when they got to go, you're fucked. But because the issue, right, you should go, you should break even at this 9:30 wick, whatever. But you don't really get anything there, right? You're kind of super 1-to-1, you're not going to go break even. So you get fucking smoked and it chops up. And this is a very good player here, actually, looking at it. You just see this momentum out of this candle, right? Problem is you'd have to get in off of this inverse, and that's just not, a play you want to take. And the issue is if you went here, you have to go break even here, and it's not, great RR, right? Because, you have to be somewhere, you probably get stopped out if you're going for 1-to-1. Actually, no, it should, yeah, you would have got stopped out. But it wouldn't make sense anyways because your break even already got smacked, right? But you still have this high in tax. You're like, all right, there's probably another player. There's probably a 30-second out of this gap, whatever, right? But as soon as you see this hold, this becomes a breakaway gap, okay? And then it just flies right to that. Okay. Okay, let's look for equal highs. Okay, because I actually saw it on last night, or not last night, yesterday. Sorry. Um, Where's this fucking, here we go, right here. Perfect example. Okay. We have these equal highs resting above London. I actually took this trade. Traded 15-minute gap. We had every single time frame inverse and it just fucking ripped. But I was bullish because we traded it 4 hour, but boom, equal highs get smacked a lot. Data highs and lows. Okay. This was the data high this morning, right? This was non-farm and unemployment. Unemployment rate. It was at 8:30. So this is an example of when it pumped up and it just didn't go back up um, to the high. Okay. What other news do we have this week? We had a smart news. We got these fuckers are so loud, bro. Wednesday, ISM. I don't think that did anything. 8:30. Whatever. But where the fuck did my shit go? All right. As I said, those are the different types of liquidity pools that draw kind of strongest to the market. Other than that, you have your sessions, right? So as you can see, I have this. I think it's this one. This I recommend you getting. Okay, ICT kills on pivots, and I turn this off. This little box because it's really fucking annoying. Okay, and it just shows you the lines. But I have a pre-market in there, highs and lows instead of lunch. This is usually NY lunch. Time frame limit you can put. I usually just do an hour because 4 hour gets messy. I definitely recommend having that because those levels are obviously very, very key. Okay. And then another one that's key is this midnight open. Okay. And that's going to be this red line, right? Price loves to fucking trade up in this midnight open and have this, support resistance. What? Um, but as far as market structure goes, right? Let's kind of go over the chart right now. So I mentioned this on some of my recaps today, but right now, right, as far as NQ, we're kind of in this PO3 model here. This consolidation, manipulated down, took out some of these lows to the left. Okay. I believe we also tapped into something. I thought we tapped into a weekly gap, but it was like a monthly gap or some shit. Who knows? So crazy enough, actually closed. So it doesn't matter, but maybe there's like a daily down here or some shit. But look, so we took out these daily relative equals here, okay? And we kind of just pumped up from just taking those out. There's no like any high time frame gaps. But as you can see, from February 4th to about fucking March 19th, we just fucked around in this range. Um, so kind of trash. But you do see it's either gonna PO3 or this shit's just gonna fucking dump to hell. So we haven't closed above this gap yet, but once we do, very, very bullish, to these levels. But we end up dumping out of here, displacing lower, closing below this, right? We're easily coming for, all these lows here, and maybe even down there eventually, right? But yeah, there's not really much more as far as liquidity goes and like ranking, which ones are more powerful than others, right? But definitely, have this pulled up before you trade, check these out. But another big thing is, I think it's called financial juice. This is what I have put up on Twitter, okay? And the shit literally has everything. So I don't have it on here. I have it on my phone and Twitter. Just like I follow them on Twitter and it just pops up over and over throughout the session. So if Trump says some fucking crazy shit, I'm gonna see it. Possibly just get out of the trade. Another big thing I want to kind of go over is just like different market opens, right? So give you an example last night of the trade that I took. I can hear this. So 8 p.m. on Asia, right? It's Asia's tentacle open, right? So the trade that I took last night was I tapped this 5 minute. I was bullish to this high, okay? Because we're clearly pumping out of this hour over here, right? pumping out of it, and I was like, all right, this high's gonna get taken. Probably not this one, but this one's definitely gonna get taken, especially if we want to, come back down, retrace, and go higher, right? So I saw that 5 minute, okay, and then saw this 1 minute momentum candle here, taking out this IFG, right? So now this is IFG. And so I knew that 8 a.m. open is always very like, either just pump or dump, right? So this is a 10.5 stop loss trade for, around 21 points. So I risked, a lot on this obviously, but this is a PO3 model, right? So we can sell it here, right? Manipulate down into this 5 minute and we get a nice momentum candle out. I'm going to take that all fucking day. And boom. So you see 8 a.m. opens and, since whatever 6, we're not really doing anything. And then as soon as 8 a.m. opens, we immediately displace, just a crazy 42 points, which isn't crazy, right? But for an Asia session, it's good. But if you look at New York opens, right, at 9:30, they're always usually nuts. And if you see New York open and you can't tell that's New York open, probably shouldn't trade that day because that means that something else happened, overnight. So obviously you can tell this shit just fucking rips. This is New York, right? This was a weird day. Another example, right? Boom, you can see New York opens sense high. Have you ever seen New York kind of do nothing? You really just want to sit out, right? Boom, New York dumps. Okay. Here, this was pretty trash. Okay. This literally went 100 and whatever, 200 points for the whole session until 1 p.m. I mean, that's pretty bad. But that's all I really have for you guys today. Not a crazy video, but I hope you guys learned something about, liquidity pools, differences in, different types of liquidity. And not necessarily how they're ranked, but just understanding, some might draw more than others. And I guess the last thing is unfilled gaps. It's like the last liquidity pool. So like definitely higher time frame unfilled gaps, right? So like we have every time you see like a 4-hour unmitigated, right? You want to mark that out because that is a very, high draw. Like most likely we're going to come down here, tap this gap, and if we want to go higher, we're obviously going to go higher, or we're just going to fucking run right through it and maybe sweep this out and then go higher, or we're just going to dump, something like that, right? So that's all I have for you guys for this one. I know I haven't posted fucking anything in a minute, but busy with school and stuff, so I'm gonna start trying to do a little more of these, pump these out a little more, and then I'll kind of just get into posting like my trade recaps and stuff so you guys kind of understand. So I'll catch you guys in the next one. Have a good weekend. Peace.